Everywhere is cold and sunlight, but still, most nights with hotels are crowded. There are days with dark clouds are shrouded. They don't smile and they never will. Only volunteers get the fill. Empty promises is what they hear. No running water from year to year. Hearts that no one desire. That if there is a Messiah, someday he hear their whispered prayer. Covered always bare and scanty. 10 people in a one-bedroom shanty. Forced to sell on the pavement. No vacancy, no employment. Cattle fire cracker from gunshot. Blood just flow when things get hot. Afraid to look out the window. To hear voices from the ghetto. Crying, crying, crying. Lord, Lord, crying, crying. Voices from the ghetto. Crying, crying, crying. Lord, Lord, crying. Voices from the ghetto. Help us, Father. Lord. Mothers just hold them head on ball. And them woman stronger than a wall. A big pusher iron she daughter. Son in jail for manslaughter. Too bad for him, be a name bad boys. No bail, that's the black man's choice. Like Shadow say, poverty is hell. She little girl child belly start to swell. Some say life is a cycle, but don't draw she no circle. Where will it all end? Only time will tell. Outside the siren keep howling, inside your belly will growling. Police raid very often. Simpson measuring a coffin. One night in bed you're sleeping. Next night is a wake that you're keeping. So you're praying to win the lotto, not to hear voices from the ghetto. Crying, 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 crying. Voices from the ghetto. Crying, Lord, crying, crying. Voices from the ghetto. We are not a forgotten people. We are what? With attentive pride, they soldier on. Revolution's faith politicians.
Good evening, St. Vincent and the Grenadines. My name is Jomo Thomas. The program you're about to listen to is called Voices. This is the Voices program for May 18th, 2025. In studio with me this evening is legendary Black nationalist activist, musician, calypsonian Robert Patches Knights King. And he would be here with us for the next 2 hours or so, but we would do as I normally do. I would read my column for last week. I'm not so sure if Patches would want to comment on it, and then we would get into the main business as to why he's here. The column is called The Making of a Criminal. The problem of gangs and violence, explicit sex and open drug use at a few schools must be placed squarely at the door of the Ministry of Education. This accusation does not absolve students whose mindless decisions and actions place their academic futures and very lives at risk. The action and or inaction of the authorities negatively affects student life chances in failing schools. We are all for nipping truancy, violence, and other dangerous activities in the bud. We are equally convinced that a decision by the government to place police at schools, just like the call for the death penalty to stem homicides, is a band-aid approach that they have popular appeal, but does very little to solve the overblown problem that our security minister seems intent on addressing. To place this vexing question in context, answer this question. How does deploying police in schools ensure that no child is left behind? It does not. The principal at West St. George School calls in the police every Monday morning, yet the problem at that school appears to be entrenched and endemic. A similar problem obtains at J.P. Eustace Secondary School at Edinburgh. Have we ever stopped to wonder why there are fewer incidents of gangs and violence at Girls High and St. Vincent Grammar Schools? Could this have anything to do with the fact that some of the best performing students and most qualified teachers are at those schools? A few years ago, we reached the informed conclusion that education officials use some schools as dumping grounds. That is to say, many students considered slow learners, deemed ill-disciplined, violent, and uneducatable were steered into these schools. For voicing this innocent yet inconvenient truth, Plain Talk was widely condemned. Those quick to herald what they glibly call our education revolution were woefully unwilling to identify and, more importantly, address the many problems that continue to plague our educational system. Few of us may remember Elena Allen, the young convent student who was conspired against by her school's leadership and chief education officer, now diplomat Luan Gilchrist, and other education ministry officials. She, Elena Allen, graduated at the top of her class at her Taiwan University and is now pursuing graduate studies. She charged her teacher with bullying. Yeah, bullying. That thing that all of us talk about now. In frustration, she wrote an inappropriate comment responding to the bullying teacher in her homework book. For this transgression, she was kicked out of convent and transferred to J.P. Eustace School in Mespo. Young Elena was a science track student at convent, but our education cabal uncaringly transferred her to J.P. Eustace, where there was no science lab. Had it not been for Elena's defiant mom, who pushed back with a successful court challenge against Gilchrist's rude remark, I have two things to say to you. Take your daughter to J.P. Eustace and get out of my office. Elena might have become a self-fulfilling prophecy. And so it is with West St. George, J.P. Eustace, and other low-performing schools across our country. In every school across the nation, there might be what some call bad apples. However, when a school is packed with non-performers or with an overwhelming amount of students reading below grade level, or where we are graduating entire classes that cannot read, we are creating cesspools and breeding ground for deviance and crime, teenage pregnancy, and failure. Plain Talk is overly excited when students from non-traditional high-performance schools, Sandy Bay, Barrowlee, Bukomen, North Union, do well. We expect stellar CPEA scores from students who attend Kingstown Preparatory, St. Mary's Roman Catholic, Sugar Mill, Windsor Academy, and outstanding CXC results from Girls High, Grammar School, St. Joseph's Convent, and Thomas Sanders. They have the best staffing, great alumni support, and attention of middle and upper classes. Small wonder then that some of us go gaga when students from schools with low expectation break through and top the academic charts. These students are accidents in a system stacked against them. Now, what is to be done? First, our society must recognize that many of our educational problems are of our own making. We must disavow the stigmatization of students, abandon ingrained, sometimes unconscious, self-fulfilling prophecy that some students are destined for failure. We must truly embrace and inculcate the idea of no child left behind. Our teachers must must be focal points of light and encouragement. A systematic long-term 10 to 15-year plan must be devised to address the educational failures of so many young people, especially young boys. Many of the problems relating to attention deficit, aggression, violence, and other deviant behaviors have their roots in generational poverty, poor nutrition, processed foods, excess consumption of sugary energy spiking drinks, and copycat mimicking that students pick up from friends and or social media. Unless these issues are addressed, we will have greater problems in the future. We should immediately stop sending students to these problem schools. Let the current cohort clear out and start afresh in 5 years with a new plan. Send better trained, prepared, and strong teachers to these institutions with the hope of uplifting and saving rather than dismissing and condemning students. Bring in alert and dedicated counselors to stop and help young students work through their problems, which may be related to puberty, home issues, and more. Administrative approaches, which emphasize throwing them out, jailing them, and hanging them when they run afoul of the law, will please some, but damage for far too many people. A school lacking the culture of success will not be transformed by police presence. We all know that Vincentian police are feared but not respected. Police presence and aggressive enforcement of discipline will predictably go sideways. Patches, thank you for joining us. I don't know if you had a chance to read that column. I don't know if you had a chance. Well, you just heard it. I'm not sure if there's anything you want to comment on there. If not, I'll take you to what I really brought you in for.
I just say a few words. First of all, Jomo, I do appreciate the fact that you have invited me on your program, and I have to say that there are very few persons in this country, maybe you could count them on one hand, who, take the approach that you have taken as a black man like myself. And just to comment on the fact that based on what you just read there, I have to say that you're anti Mr. Gallows. Interestingly enough, there's a calypso coming out that is celebrating Mr. Gallows. The author of that song do believe that Mr. Gallows is the solution for the homicides that we're having in the country. Now, you have your own analysis. People may not agree with you, but then that's how life is. But Jomo, you're saying that you need qualified and more quality teachers to stem the tide of what is happening in the various schools. And I do take it that you have a point that if you keep dumping youngsters, kids who people think are not worth the time in a particular environment, that it would only fester and grow more, because your point is taken with the grammar school and the high school where you don't have that type of incident taking place. Criminal activity, so it's an indictment on the powers that be to, I don't know if this new regime would take advice that could help to solve problems, because we know that people who are in certain positions don't think that they have to listen to people who they consider don't have the authority and the power that they have. But I do believe the solution of trying to train more teachers, which would be an added expense, and it would take a whole lot of effort to get more people trained, like you say, 5 years from now, if you take the right approach according to your thinking. And I'm not being critical of it. I think it might be a solution. I think you might have something there. Because really and truly, in my days, and I'm sure in your days of going to school, we had incidents, but nothing of this magnitude, really and truly. So we have to see if the powers that be would take some of the advice that is coming from various, circles in the society, and that might help to prove that, people have something to offer who are not in authority or don't have the power to make rules and laws and stuff like that. So I think it's a good article, and we have to find solutions. We definitely have to.
Well, thank you for that. But Patches, I want to talk to you about your own history of activism. because I remember as a little boy, and I know my age now because I was running on Sunday morning, and I was going past two younger men right in the villa area. I slipped and I stumbled, and the young man said, "Old man, watch it, you fall, you know." So I know that my age has betrayed is more visible than ever. But that is to say how long you have been in dispatches, because I remember, as I said, I remember you used to be in OPCA, right? So tell us a little about OPCA and why you joined OPCA.
How should I put it? My consciousness as a black man incidentally came from, it came first of all from the entertainment circle. I used to hear these voices on the radio back then. They didn't have TV and stuff like that, these transistor radio. And I heard some voices singing these sweet melodies and these sweet songs. I never knew that these were people who looked like me. These were the Sam Cooks and the James Brown and the Aretha Franklin. I was surprised. I said, wait, is black people something like that? And then the Sparrows. When I hear people like Sparrow and Kitchener and the way they would put like 200 words together and bring a melody and make sense with what the oration, the things that they're talking about, and teaching you, you're getting a lesson from them in these songs and stuff like that. And I said, wait, I could do that too. And then I was introduced to a book by incidentally a white person, a book called The Autobiography of Malcolm X. Never knew anything about that, because I was just growing up in this society, taking things for granted, that we were limited with what we could do and what we could say. There were like in Middle Street there, a place called Kingston Club. That was where all the big shots used to.
That's right across from where.
That's by the library there, right across the library, next to where
Subway. Right next to where.
Right, and Middle Street area there, next to Timmy School there. And there was this guy dressed up like these guys in America who would park your cars and valet. And it was a big shot used to go up there, and you couldn't go up there. And then I heard talks like certain people couldn't go to the aquatic club and thing, and a consciousness started coming in me. And when I read this book by this man called Malcolm X, I say, what the hell going on? I'm a dead person. I didn't realize that all these things were happening. I read about how black people were treated. I read about the slave trade. I read about the Middle Passage. And then I started to hear about people like Walter Rodney and Kwame Nkrumah, Patrice Lumumba, Julius Nyerere, Tambo. Well, Martin Luther King to some extent, because I believe that Malcolm had the right approach. Not that Martin Luther King didn't matter. And then I read about people like Mandela and what he went through and stuff like that. And I started getting this consciousness, and I started to believe that, hey, wait, nobody is better than me. I don't have material things. I don't have a so-called proper education according to the society norms. If you don't have a certain amount of education, and even in many cases, Jomo, if you had a great education, you go to university and stuff like that, and you had a higher education, you still was treated like the worst or the lowest Caucasian. I observed all of that, and I read and understood that. And it started dawning on me that, hey, man, I feel I want to make a contribution to see if I could assist in making any little changes. I got in touch with a guy named Jim Maloney, who I still up to today admire. And he decided that we should form a group. And there were other people like Elmo Beasley and Wendy Cruz, his brother Shivambu, Black Messenger, Michael John, who is deceased now. And we decided we're going to form a group called OBCA, the Organization of Black Cultural Awareness. And we started
Say
to
that
make
again. Say that. Go on.
Organization of Black Cultural Awareness.
I want people to hear it. That's what I want to
OBCA.
say.
Yeah. And we decided we're going to create a football team because we're going to get the youths involved. So we had a football team that consisted of people like Eddie Griffith, Kerwin Morris. Kerwin never played, he trained with us, but Eddie Griffith was the stopper. And I was a fun stopper. We had the two smalls, they were part of it. Raymond Ballantyne, a number of them guys went on to become national players. And Tyrone Barrow, he became a national player also. Pete Morris, who used to go to the grammar school, but he played with our team and stuff like that. And we decided from there we're going to start to raise funds so we could get to print literature, as we used to call it. We used to print some little pamphlets and stuff and disseminate the information to the public and stuff like that. We decided that we're going to change our mode of dress. We started to wear dashikis and stuff like that. We started to wear slippers. We started, wear the natural afro look, let our hair grow and pull it out and, stuff like that. And then we say, hey, we need to see how we could give back something. And we started to assist kids who couldn't find money to buy books and school supplies and stuff. So what we used to do is put on shows in the cinema. We used to call them talent shows. And then we started bringing a mass band because one of the techniques with going into the carnival was that you used to have original mass, military mass, fancy mass, historical mass. So we used to observe which section we must get a prize in. So we say, boy, if we go in original, there's only two bands, we must come second or first. They couldn't stop us. So we used to do that consciously, deliberately, to make the money that we could have used because we was following the examples like the Black Panthers, Huey Newton, the Cleavers, and then Bobby Seale. Those were the people that we were admiring. And we started to collect a little fund. So we started to have these carnival band every year. And we used to use only the drums. And Jim Maloney, who was very instrumental in getting this organization going, brought a bunch of consciousness to a lot of people. Jim, incidentally, was a musician also. He used to play with a band named Latinez. I don't know if you remember that. He was a guitarist.
I didn't remember him.
Yeah, Jim was a guitarist. And he was also a top table tennis player.
Yeah, I know he used to play table.
Yeah. And he was one of the top shoemakers in making sandals and stuff. I remember we used to go down to Leyu by an old fellow who used to tan these things and make leather. And we used to go down there and collect the leather. And that's how Jim used to make a living also. And there was Gustav Walker, Philip Zulu, and a young lady, Lizard King's sister. She used to go to high school.
Diana.
Right. I think when we had some kids. Right. And she was one of the first young lady who came and associated us with us. And she used to get a lot of fire. They used to tell her, what you doing with them guys? People used to look at us and cuss when they see us run on the other side and say, God come for your world, look, Satan on earth here. That's what they used to do. When people see we coming up the road with our dashiki and our big afro and our plait hair, they used to run on the other side, cuss, spit on the ground and get on and say we're the devil and stuff like that. And they must make a law to ban us. I remember one politician say that they should put all of us out in the mental asylum because in those days they had the market shed. And when the politicians having meeting, we wasn't for no particular political party. We would go there and heckle them. You can't do that now. We used to go there and disturb them. I must say this too. One time we actually went in the church, not to disrupt the preacher, but we went in there to get a reaction. One Sunday we went to Anglican church, Methodist church, and Catholic church, and we just went and sit down quietly with our dashiki on, and people start to get on and cuss and say the police should. But we said this is a church. We could come to church. We went in there and sit down and stuff like that. And these are some of the things that used to aggravate people. People started to call for our heads, and in many occasions, a number of us were arrested. I remember one time some people try to come and take some pictures, and we say, nah, you can't take no picture. We had that attitude of the young fella, some tourists. And they called the police, and the police didn't ask nothing. The police just grabbed us up, or they took me wrong to the prison, and my mother came to try to bail me, and I tell her no. Anyway, after a while, they let us out and take us to the courthouse. There was a man named Rawl, who they shot somewhere up Fort Charlotte, yeah. The magistrate.
Magistrate Rawl.
Right. So the charges for, I can't remember what the charge was, but anyway, the charges, and I went to court. But the thing is, Joe, when I was going in the court, we used to wear these berets and these bush jackets, like a military style, and these dashiki.
Like the Panthers.
Right. So going in the court now, one day for court, because several times they locked us up, but I could only talk or remember. So the police officer called me by my name. So I went upstairs with my, bush jacket can't go in your pants. It was a deliberate act. So when I went to the door now, the police officer said, you can't go in there, you have to put your shirt in your pants. I said, why you don't put yours in your pants? So all invite me and tell me how to dress. That's the attitude we had of the young fella. Take off your beret. I said, you take off that too. The magistrate heard the commotion outside. He said, what's happening? And the police officer said, he don't want to comply with the rules and stuff. He used to stop me. He said, let him come in. I went in. The magistrate asked me why I don't want to take off my beret, why I don't want to put my jacket in my shirt. I say, well, first of all, you all arrest me, force me to come here, because if I ain't come, you all won't send police for me. So I come. They charge me now for obstruction or something like that. Anyway, they ended up charging me $40. I said, well, I don't have no money to pay. I have to go to jail. They say they give me, I think it's 2 or 3 weeks to pay. I didn't have the money, and although we had money saved, but we don't want to pay. So I used to work on the docks in the shed. And one day I'm up there, and 2 police officers came while I was working. One was called Kid and one Douglas, big strapped-in guy from Leo. And they grabbed me up and they put a handcuff on me and said they come for me with a bench warrant because I wouldn't pay this $40. Jim come, because Jim, was the treasurer and all of that. We had a committee, but Jim was the man who the bank book. And so Jim said, Patches are going to pay money. I said, no, I want to go on jail because I want to talk to my brothers and sisters wrong to help liberate them. So they deliberately wouldn't. My mother come pleading with me, Robert, what you doing? I said, Mommy, I am going in the jail. You understand? F.O. Mason was the man in charge.
Superintendent of prison.
Exactly so. So when I went down there now, they're trying to force me in a cell, a little place with a little cubby hole thing up there, some bars. So I said, man, don't push me, because the guy them was brutal. They were so much against us because of what we were doing. They was against us more or less trying to change up the society. That's it. That's what they say we were doing. We were influencing young people the wrong way. So Mason upstairs in the office, and he say, put him in the cell. Anyhow, put him in the jail. Mason was a big strapped-in guy. Put him in the cell. I said, you come down. Let me just say it plain. Like, we used to call them like pigs. Say, you come down, you big pig. Boy, that infuriated him. And he come down. And about 4 of them hold me. And they push me in the cell. And one give me 1 hunch in my back here. I say, let's get paid from it. But that is the attitude. Them time I was a teenager. Right. And we were fearless.
Rebel,
fearless. Yeah, we were fearless. And we realized we wasn't stealing. We wasn't killing nobody. We wasn't planning no murder or no anything like that. All we were doing is trying to influence young people to become conscious of what we call colonialism, racism, and classism. And they knew what we were doing, and they didn't like it. Yeah. So a lot of people up in arms against us. And like I said, one politician was saying we on the lunatic. Well, a man named Rupert John used to ride a horse. He was the governor.
He was the governor.
Yeah. And he said, we're on the lunatic fringe. And he, incidentally, a black man here, I think you were the first black governor general in St. Vincent.
Yes.
And he said, we are on the lunatic fringe because of the fact that we decided that we're going to plait up our hair and we're going to grow our hair and we're going to wear dashiki and stuff like that. And we used to go to the various schools and give out pamphlets from people. Say, quote some Walter Rodney, you know. My man from Martinique, what you name there again?
Frantz Fanon.
Frantz Fanon, yeah. And the TLR James,
Right.
you know. Black Jacobins, we take out passages and things, and, you know, Malcolm X, ballot out the bullet and stuff. And they didn't like that because they're saying, them ain't educated, they ain't have no money, they ain't supposed to be doing that. You know what I'm saying? So a bunch of us after a while decided this thing ain't gonna work. The Labour Party was in office, and the Labour Party actually had a state of emergency when Bumba Charles and them tried something in Union Island.
In December 79.
Right. So they decided now that we can't congregate no, and we can't, you know, be in association with no group of people on no street corner and stuff like we used to be having, you know, little sessions on the corner. We used to go to the schools, talk to the children. They had a police officer named Big Williams, and they had something they called Fleet. I don't know if you remember the Fleet. It was called Fleet. They come on with these little vans and stuff, and you had to run off the street. You couldn't stand up on the corner. You had to, and they pick you up and they carry on the whole indefinitely back in those days. So we realized that the Labour Party was brutal, and they weren't treating us as citizens. They figured that we were more or less, you know, we should be ostracized. We shouldn't be a part of the society. They should lock us away and stuff like that. So we decided, boy, Labour Party, things ain't gonna work out. We gotta do something. That time, Joshua Party was in the opposition. So we say the best strategy is to give the support with the few people we could influence to try to get rid of the Labour Party. So we made a conscious effort to start to ask people, especially young people who just turned 18 and stuff, to vote for Joshua, to get rid of the Labour Party. Because at the same time, the making of UPM was coming about, you know? Right. So that was the plan. Right. And it came out successful. That's when James Mitchell ended up being the Prime Minister, because it ended up 6-6. You remember that?
Yeah, in 72.
Exactly. It ended up 6-6. So we supported.
Well, 6-6-1.
Yeah, 6-6-1. James Mitchell won as an independent. Because remember, he was the Labour Party man, Minister of Agriculture. Yeah. And we supported them. And then the whole thing happened with Spirit and all of that. And, you know, with the killing of, what the guy named?
Wrong.
Yeah, Raw. But remember Raycon. Remember Raycon had gotten shot up? Marcus. And the police decided that they're going to start to terrorize us. They started radio homes. Mm-hmm. We used to get a newspaper from Cuba called the Grandma. Mm-hmm. And then they started to talk about banning, which they actually did. They want to ban any books to do with black consciousness. Mousy Tongue book, they had a red book. You know about all them things, Jumo. Yes. Boy, Jumo, it's funny I'm talking like this because how many people in the society have consciousness like yours and doing something with it? It's a shame. And today, the guys who used to be involved in these activities, quite a few of them died. Some of them migrated. But if you could find 3 or 4 of them here today, you find plenty, because most of them sold out. They sold out for political reasons. Now, I support a political party, but like I told you coming down there, my consciousness first is as a black man, because anyway, the 3 of us in the studio go, if we don't open our mouth and they hear our accent, they could decide that them is just African guys. You know what I'm saying? There's no 2 ways about it. If you go to France, Germany, or any part of Europe, any part of North America, any part of the Caribbean, any part of South America or Asia, and they see you, me, or the brother in here, they would classify us as what? Black men from Africa, if we say nothing. So when people are trying to sidetrack and get away and feel uncomfortable when some of us talk about our consciousness as black people, who are still being penalized just for the color of our skin and to keep us economically suffering. Because for me, people like Malema in South Africa is on the right track.
I don't want to go there just yet.
Yeah, I'm just making a reference to him.
I'll take you to the continent. I'll take you to the continents. I don't want you to run away yet. And people will be wondering, why is it I allow you to go on so long, Patches? But I want people to understand that there's a history. And there's a history here in St. Vincent that the people that you were talking about and the kind of foundation you got is the kind of thing that I fed in when I came into that movement a little later. And as you correctly said, a number of us who were involved then are no longer involved. And you know, I listened to you talking and I remember there's this quote from Walter Rodney, where Walter Rodney said, you know, the thing that I fear most in life is that when I become an old man and I'm walking on the street and I pass a group of fellas and I hear a whisper as I walk away, there goes Patches. He used to be a revolutionary. I mean, Rodney said, there goes Walter Rodney, but I'm saying in your context, there goes Patches, or there goes Jomo, or there goes whoever else. He used to be a revolutionary. It's a frightful thought. But
it used to be.
Right? It used to be. Evidently, a lot of people don't care.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't care.
Yeah.
They are quite comfortable with used to be. And it's something for us to think about. But you know, when you talk about that kind of conscience, what kept you going? You were talking here about the late 60s, by the late 70s, I came, mid 70s, late 70s, I came along. But what kept you going all these years?
Pride and dignity in the fact that I know something of people like, well, you say don't go to the continent, but I know something of Mansa Musa, Imhotep, Senmut, Nehisi. When I realized that the cradle of civilization is nowhere else on this planet but in Mother Africa. So that makes you proud, knowing that you're somebody, you are the mother and father of humanity. It has been proven by paleontologists and archaeologists and all kind of historians and people who study ancient civilization. So why must I make, because I don't have the so-called great education and no big set of financial...
Well, you don't have certification.
Well, that's what I mean. You know what I mean?
Different thing than education.
You know what I mean? The documents that they gave you to say that you qualify in this and that. Yeah. And this is how the society is. Because there are people who are highly qualified in certain areas, but they don't have that piece of document. Yeah. But a person who only studied the theory of something that you know practically, you ain't getting that first preference. Right. Because like I had a calypso that says, once you're recognized as a so-called intellectual, then you automatically is supposed to be a superior being to the person who didn't have that exposure or that experience of going through them institution. And plenty of people don't like me for how I just talk, but hey, like my plate don't go by them. I'll survive. You understand what I'm saying, Jomo? That's how I understand life. My pride and my dignity as a black man cannot be taken away. You can't pay me, you can't buy me, you can't make me don't say that I'm a black man and I'm conscious and I love people like Rodney and Malcolm. You know, you understand me? And Kwame and Jomo Kenyatta. You know, I like what the Mau Mau did. The Mau Mau had to do what they did. If you dig what I'm saying. Toussaint and Dessalines had to do what they did in Haiti. And look today, and I don't know if we will touch that, but what is happening in Haiti today, it's a crying shame. It hurts me every day as a black man to know that over all these hundreds of years, Haiti is still in the state that it is, and France has sucked the blood of Haiti.
And the US.
and the United States, because they two went and colonized Haiti.
And invaded.
Yeah, and invade Haiti. And you say, well, we're going to go there. But what's happening with Abraham Traore in Africa? It's making me proud. You understand me? And Niger and Chad. You understand me?
Mali.
And Mali. These things are important to people like me. Although they like to say that, hey, the United States had a black president, Obama. But we know that Obama was just a figurehead. He was still controlled by the white power structure, by white supremacy in the United States. We know that. Those of us who know.
The conscious elements know that.
We know that.
People don't know that Obama was literally funded by the Hudson Institute, which came out of the Morgan Stanley, that big banking media house. I mean, not media, banking institution in Wall Street. A lot of people don't know that. A lot of people don't know, for example, that black people's net worth went down under Barack Obama. That under Obama did say, for example, that he went to Wall Street speaking to a lot of these big business people, and he says, I stand between you and the pitchfork. But he chose them.
Yeah.
So whereas a lot of people lost their homes and their income and their pensions and their savings. Some people say, oh, it was the international crash. Well, yeah, there was international crash. But in that same time, billions of dollars were given to big businesses, and none of that money went towards helping ordinary people save their homes.
And the role that he played, he and Clinton,
in Libya.
With Gaddafi.
In Libya.
Gaddafi had these great plans for Africa that we see is being carried today by Burkina Faso and other nations in Africa who wants to make sure that we grow what we eat where we grow whatever minerals in our soil. We must have the first preference to decide how it's going to be used in our interest, not France and Spain and Germany and United States and whoever, exploiting all the minerals in our country. For instance, many parts of Africa is without electricity, but they're taking the minerals that they have in Africa.
Like, for example, in Niger, they are taking, Niger is very rich in uranium.
Yeah.
And the French take it out of Niger, take it to power France. And 80% of Niger does not have electricity.
True.
They would take it and pay Niger $7 per kilogram and then sell it on the world market for $700 per kilogram.
I hear you.
So, but people, a lot of times, Patches, there's so much that our people don't know. And that is why I end my programs by saying,
I know what you say.
Read, pay close attention, because what you don't know can kill you. I mean, the names that you are calling, maybe we are over the head of much of our listeners.
Point taken.
Who knows?
I'm thinking that same
Who
thing.
knows Patrice Lumumba?
Yeah.
Who knows Kwame Nkrumah?
Yeah.
Who knows Sikatori?
Thomas Sankara.
Who knows Thomas Sankara?
Boy.
They may know Gaddafi, but they may know Gaddafi based on the demonization of Gaddafi by the Western media.
And it's not too long with Gaddafi.
No, not knowing that Gaddafi helped to develop Libya into the second most developed country in Africa. And when Obama and Clinton destroyed Libya at the time had 300, I think it was 300 tons of gold. The Americans snatched it all after the invasion. And then loaned them 30, I think it's $30 billion of their own money. No, they had $300 billion in reserves, not gold. They took it all, loaned them $30 billion to reconstruct what the NATO bombs destroyed. Loan them $30 billion at 15% interest of their own money,
I hear you.
But they were now paying. But our people don't know these things, and that is why there's so much confusion. There's so much misunderstandings, and that is why too that I wanted a voice like you to come on, so that the people who stay and listen to us would learn something, would hear something, and would hope that spark.
Well,
because we need the next generation.
The one of the things that well, some of us would understand that the strategy of white supremacy over these last few hundred years since the Middle Passage is to make sure they demonize anybody who they see have the potential to influence the thinking of people of African stock. If every other nation and every other ethnicity think that they're superior to us. I mean, I ain't telling you nothing.
We are the faces at the bottom of the world.
Exactly so.
We're the faces at the bottom.
Whether we're in the majority, whether we're in the minority like Africa, we're in the majority, but we still must be on the lowest ring of the social ladder. We're in the majority. If we're in the minority like in Europe or in Asia or in North or South America, look at Argentina, look how the whitewash people do. Joma, these are things we need to know, what they deliberately erase the black people in Argentina, deliberately, consciously, and they're still trying to do it today in other countries. Look, I just question first. I know you as a supporter of, and I'm going to put you on the spot with this. Cuba. Cuba has so many black persons. I would like you to tell me, politically, militarily, business-wise, what is the situation and the position of people who look like you and me in Cuba? That is one of the things that perplexes me.
Right. Well,
and Brazil too.
To me, that was one of the biggest weakness of the Cuban Revolution, and one of the biggest failings of
Castro,
the Cuban Communist Party, Fidel Castro, Raul Castro, and the others, because Cuba has a significant non-white population.
Correct.
But in the higher echelons of the party, there were few black people who look like me and you.
That's the point.
I mean, there was for many years there was what's his name now? Juan Almeida.
Yes, you
right? There was Juan Almeida, and then there was Lazo, who was also a member of the Politburo. Played a brilliant role in developing the science section in Cuba, which now result in all of those scientific advancements they're making and so on. There are a number of black people who look like us in the military.
Influential generals and
generals, yes, influential
stuff
generals.
Like that. But we don't see them.
But if you have a Politburo, which is the highest political body in Cuba, even to this day, the revolution and black people benefited tremendously from the revolution, considering that
what was happening before.
What was happening before? It was an American playground.
I know.
With all of the racism and everything else. But it's almost a sin to me.
Brazil has the same kind of thing.
But Brazil, I don't compare them the same, because Brazil didn't make a revolution. Cuba made a revolution. You see what I'm saying?
I understand that.
To me, the criticism of the Cuban brothers and sisters, Cuban comrades, are to me even harsher than what we can see.
Because they were supposed to be progressive.
Yeah, they made a revolution, but I don't think that the revolution ever solved the race problem. Part of the reason why I think they never solved it too is because they came under so much pressure from U.S. imperialism from very, very early, that what they emphasized was the nationalism, Cuban nationalism, over issues of race consciousness. So they emphasized class, working classes against the ruling class, the bourgeoisie, and so on. But over the years, the Cuban leadership led by Fidel Castro and then later by Raul, a number of young persons who were white made mistakes, and the revolution had to correct that. And I'm saying, in the same way that they made mistakes and the revolution had to correct it, they could have made mistakes on people who look like me and you. I remember one time there was a guy called Robinson, who used to be the chief in Santiago de Cuba. And then apparently Robinson engaged in some kind of corruption and they had to chop him and they jailed.
Black guy.
Yeah, look like us. They jailed him.
You know the most famous person who we consider black that is known from Cuba. What about the name?
Theophilus Stevenson.
He died the other day.
Yeah, he died. He died. He actually came to St. Vincent.
Yeah.
People
Look, going back now to Brazil, people are observing anyway that Brazil soccer team now, they're almost lily white.
Becoming increasingly white.
Boy, Joe, I ain't going to say until the day I die. Because like I say, I have my dignity as a black man, and you have to keep observing what's going on. And like I say, we're going to touch the continent before we leave, because we need to touch the continent.
But Passy, one of the other things that I remember of you as a young person growing up was, you used to be in bands, you as a musician. I remember early, I think there was a time when you always right up at Sand Hill.
Had a band up there.
You had a band. What band called again, boy? It's Strange Vibration. Strange Vibration. I remember that. You and Phil and those guys used to be in that band.
Correct. That is correct.
So I remember you guys from then. And but how did you get into? I know you talked about the inspiration of Sam Cooke and those. I know that's an inspiration in itself to hear them sing. But how do you actually get to start playing instruments? You play the organ, you play the piano. I don't know if you had any other instruments that you play. But tell us about that.
Actually, I always credit a man named Boney Nose.
Who?
Doggy Nose.
Doggy Nose.
We used to work with the news. We all grew up in that area in Frenchies. And me and my brother Muddy used to fiddle first with a little quattro. My older brother, who's deceased now, Fuzzy, used to bring home. That's how we got into it. And we grew up in a yard with steel band. With the man Sparrow Duncan, Samuel Sparrow Duncan, who was a national cricketer, a national footballer. They had a pan side in Frenchies. You see, just below where Blazer lived in Frenchies, we used to live there. We grew up there, right? And we grew up with pan around us and stuff. So we started to, when they mend them in, they would go and knock up the pan. So we learned to play pan. So I was a pan man. And borrowing our older brother, Quattro, we started playing and learning little things. Then we got involved with two fellas, I can't remember the name right now, but they had guitar. We used to ask them for some little lessons to show us how to play some chords. So we learned some chords, and I started to try to mimic some of those guys who I, appreciated, like the Sam Cooke and the James Brown. And Boney knows now. One day he see me with the guitar, and he said, man, you could play the band. That's why I mentioned in Nose. So that inspired me. So from there now, I started to consider, maybe. There was a woman named Leopold. She used to be at the Salvation Army, Brigadier Leopold. I don't know if you remember her. But Brigadier Leopold, she was, I think, a Trinidadian. But she was a nice lady. And she used to look at us and, kind of be sympathetic with us in our struggles as young black men trying to assert ourselves as conscious black men. She used to invite us and talk to us and things. She embraced us. And I told her my ambition to have a band. And she said I could help. So she said, listen, we're going to try to see if we could help you to get a loan. A cousin of mine made me, give me power of attorney with some lands here up Sand Hill. The same place where we had the band up there. So I went and I get $400 borrowed from the bank. And Leopold helped us with some finance also. So I could have started buy pieces of equipment and started a band. And my brother Muddy, who used to live in Trinidad, used to play with Invaders and all them. But he could have played guitar. So I encouraged him to come home to start this band. Phil, who's my first cousin, was living in the yard with us. So he used to fool around on an old one-string guitar I had. So I said, you come, bring him, pull him in. Started training him up.
Phil is up with the bass.
I didn't have a keyboard, but we intended to buy one. The man age, Errol Age Rose, had an idea playing. So I say, well, I play the keyboard. I couldn't play no keyboard, I used to play guitar. So several times we rehearsing, agent show up for whatever reason. I had a lot of confidence in the income. So Phil had a little drawing skill. So I say, Phil, why do something for me? We get 2 big almanac and we turn it over the side that is playing. And I say, look at the piano and draw the notes how it is for me. That's how we're going to learn. And I started to practice on that imaginary until Brigadier Leopold came to our assistance and helped us to buy an organ. That's how I started to play. And that is the band that produced people like Killer Snake, Blakey, Let Me Through Victoria Park. Anytime you hear that, that's the band, our band played that. Right? Diffu, all these fellas came out of that band. The Strange Vibration, we started the Calypso tent called Future Stars, where we had all these guys involved. And after that, I traveled, I went away. I went to the Virgin Islands. I got some lessons. I went to America. After I learned a little bit, Asterix asked, I wasn't such a good player, but Asterix wanted a keyboard man and they recruited me. So I used to go down there and practice with them. They took me to America and to Canada with them. And I used to go to a guy in New York City on Eastern Park with Paddy Curry. Send me to this guy. I used to pay him $5 for every session for him to teach me how to read notes, some basic thing. And then there was a lady in Paul's Avenue used to teach, not computer, what do you call the one before the computer? The typewriter. Major Leacock could attest to that. He used to go there for typewriter classes, and the woman had 2 daughters. They used to teach me the keyboard. So we used to pay like $10 a month to learn, to understand what is a G, a flat, a minor, a sharp, a diminished, you know. And so I started to learn and get the confidence. Like I said, I went to America with Asterix, and I happened to stay up there for a few years. I played with a number of bands, played with church band, I played with a Jamaica band, pure reggae I had to play. Because them Jamaican guys, Christmas carol, a calypso song, they would calypso song, turn it into a reggae. So I started to become more and more confident, you know. And before that, though, I used to sing, you know, like Otis Redding and Sam Cooke and James Brown and Slip and Slide and stuff like that. So I had a history of that. Then I joined a couple of other bands. I went to Europe. I went to France. I went to Germany. I went to England. I went to Sweden. I played with a band called, what was that band again? Can't remember some of them bands I played with, but I know I played with Exodus. I toured with Exodus also. And then I had my own band. I had 2 bands at 2 different times. And I started to get more and more confident and more experience. So based on that kind of thing, I started to understand that I could make a little living from it. So I got recruited to work on some tourist boats. So I worked on tourist boats. All we used to do on those boats, you play music, you sleep, you eat. That was your job. Every 2 weeks, you get paid. So I worked on tourist ship like that, playing. And I did a couple of stints like in Trinidad. I went to Grenada, the Calypsonian and stuff like that. I played with a number of different people, you know. And even here in St. Vincent, I played with bands in Mexico and stuff like that. And my confidence built with that, and I got deeper and deeper involved. I played with Jules. Me and Jules used to play in the same band. That's how I first got to know Jules. Jules Williams. We used to play the band with a guy named Coven out there, Manisville. Me and Jules used to play keyboard. Jules used to try to play the bass. Jules, you hear me? Jules used to try to play the bass. And I think it when Willis left Exodus, I went in for him. I wasn't such a good player like now. My experience would make it better. And my confidence grew with that. And from there on, I decided I'm going to more or less, continue the life of a musician. It's not easy because, like we were saying today on a program, about a program I was on, you can't make any money today by making CDs and stuff long ago. You got to sell a couple of cassettes, but everybody could get your stuff off the internet for free and stuff. So when Carnival come around, like now, Jomo, those of us who sing calypso and stuff, when we go to the studio and record and you pay for your scores, because I don't write like brass line scores. I could write my score for my keyboard pad, but for the brass and thing, I have to let the guys who do that for me. I have to give them something. You go on the stage to perform, you have to dress as nice as possible, because I still believe in the old school. You cannot wear your performing clothes regular on the street. You have to put on your dandan and act. You know what I'm saying? Like an entertainer on stage and dress like an entertainer. So I'm saying that costs your money also.
Right.
You understand me? So if you ain't get selected in the semi-final, any money you spend, $800, $900, $1,000, wherever you get it from, you got to wait until next year. And I just want to add here, for people who are listening and who are interested in entertainment, Jomo, this thing has got to stop if we want to develop culturally, artistically. When we finish singing by the end of, in the middle of July, Carnival done somewhere around there, the Calypsonian is not going to touch a microphone again for the next 9 months. How the hell are you going to develop? You see what I'm saying? There's no platform.
How do you develop? How do you keep on going?
Because I play blues and rock and roll. So I play all them. I used to play all Basil Bar and all kind of place. I play all that kind of music.
Right.
I play all them kinds of stuff. So it's not just one.
So outside of the calypso,
outside I could do
still
something.
Practicing. Mm-hmm.
But the Calypsonian, see, when he done sing for the preliminary, if he ain't get picked, that's the end of he.
Until next
year. Mm-hmm. So we can't develop that way, because I plan to try to get a delegation to go to the Ministry of Culture and explain some of the problems, because I'm still at this point a member of the Calypso Association. I'm still the PRO. Earl Cabba Bennett is the president, and he's doing a wonderful job. People could say what they want. I know Cabba making personal sacrifice for the art form. We need to have the art form being promoted and pushed outside of Carnival. CDC, which I always criticize the D for development, have to do things outside of the Carnival season to develop Carnival. I don't know if you would agree with me. Carnival Development Corporation. Yeah. You can't wait till after Carnival finishes next year is when they're going to do. And they don't do nothing. They just do 1 or 2 shows. They select who they want to and put them on the show, and Calypsonians is up in arms against that. I want to just mention this. When you go to park on Carnival Tuesday, when the band's parading, they open the gates for free now. Nobody don't be in the park. One of the reasons I feel, I could safely say, is there's nothing to make people come to the park. Long ago, you know what they used to do? Carnival Tuesday, Calypsonians who didn't make it to the final or semi-final, CDC used to hire a band, put them in one corner of the stage, and allow 5 or 6 Calypsonians to entertain the crowd that used to come to park. So people who never got to hear some Calypsos, who never come to the tent, will get an opportunity, and that used to encourage people to come to the park. Right. It's a twofold thing. It make the Calypsonians now, who didn't make $1, get a $300 or $400.
Right.
A band would play on the stage and get a $300 or $400. Those are things we want to see. You understand me? Mm-hmm. So I am appealing to CDC to give the Calypsonian an opportunity to make a $2, at least get back something.
Right. How do you see the development of soca? And what do you think that development? How you think that development impacted on Calypso?
Joe, you put me on a spot, because I'll go a little broader. I grew up in the era of soul music and R&B music, blues, calypso from people like I see Kitchener, Sparrow, Lord Melody, Shorty, and those people, Kitchener and among them. Today, and reggae, the Bob Marley, the Peter Toshes, the Jimmy Cliffs. Today it's not like that. In America, music I admired up there is called now hip hop. Where the guys them talk and they use all kind of language there that don't carry nobody. One or two of them would be educational. But they took away the solid music that talks about love, you know what I'm saying, and affection, and it's educational. Changes gonna come like Sam Cooke singing that kind of song, you understand? What's going on, Marvin Gaye, you know what I'm saying? You ain't getting that kind of thing now. So you come down now to Jamaica, where you had Bob Marley singing about one love, and people like Jimmy Cliff, who would give you that song, The Harder They Come. That's a nice message that Jimmy Cliff said, the harder they fall, and they have the movie to suit that. And Many Rivers to Cross, that I'm African, that is Peter Tosh. Then you come to Trinidad, and you have the man like the Mighty Sparrow, who will tell you about education. So now, the guys who are doing the soca, them ain't going, when last you hear a man who's singing a soca, I'm saying it blatant, will tell you about education, he will tell you wine and the bam bam. You understand? And that's supposed to be our culture. And Jamshi in the corner. And then some of the young fellas will glorify weapons and stuff like that.
Or rum.
You understand what I'm saying?
Or rum.
Rum, big time. Now that to me is perplexing. I'm from the old school. I still want to hear educational thing. So the soca, what we call soca today, one or two of the guys would sing songs, I have to be careful how I say what I'm saying, that would inspire you to want to do a soca song, something with some consciousness in it. James P had a song like that, the Capeless Heroes. That's a great song. I love that song. Okay, he's a soca man. The Bomani sang a song where you want with I Am Soca. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. That's a nice song. Well put together and stuff like that. But the rum, the keep jamming she, the cock up the leg, if that is supposed to be our culture and take us forward, it ain't going to happen. It just ain't going to happen. It's a straight case. So I have my own reservation with certain things. I did up-tempo song. The song I doing this year, I deliberately put up-tempo, but my song is a commentary. You say you heard it.
Yeah.
It's a commentary song.
We'll play it a little later.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, Jomo, that is my contention with what's happening in the country. I remember we used to go and Joy, she was in our tent. We used to go to the schools, Anglican school, prep school, out Bayabu. We used to go to Methodist school and put on little shows for the children with the Calypso tent.
Right. Let me ask you this. Now you talk about the tents. I remember in earlier days, the tent, if my memory is right, 10 years ago, much longer. These days we have 2 or 3 tent, 4 tent sessions max, and then we get to preliminary. Was it always like that, or was it much longer before?
It was much longer. Now,
much longer.
You say 4? No tent don't have 4 shows. no tent. It's an economic thing. It's an economic thing. You have to pay for
the cinema.
Okay? You have to, well, CDC does assist somewhat with the promotion of it. But you have to pay for the cinema.
Plus the band.
Exactly. You have to pay the band, pay the musicians to play for you. So it simply means that people are catching the tail to get, like I was telling you, sponsorship is a problem in St. Vincent. The commercial sector, stingy. I say that all the time everywhere. They're very stingy. They don't understand the role that they could play or should play for national development. To give back something from the profit you made from the very same people in the society that purchase or buy your service or buy your goods or whatever it is. You give back something for the development of the society. It just ain't happening across the board. And these are some of the problems. I mean, like I say, we have a new government, and I hope the new government would take on board that culture plays a role. And when I say culture, I don't just mean the rum thing and the cock up your leg. I don't mean that. I mean culture in the sense of a person could go in at Calypso 10, sit down, enjoy some humor, like we were talking about people like Brother Ebony, people like Marshy, Abijah. They sing a lot of social commentary, but I admire Abijah for his comedy. He always put some humor in it. I can't do that. I don't have that ability. You know what I'm saying? You could go and listen to Abijah, and he's singing serious thing, but he put some humor and make you laugh. Marshy does that. Brother Ebony does things like that. I like those kinds of calypso too. So unless the powers that be get involved and understand that we have to guide the young people to be positive and don't take it for granted that culture means that you just have to jam on wine, drink a lot of strong rum with a Pepsi.
Based on looking back now, who you think as a young person is probably the most promising? Do you see any promise there, a young person coming up who might carry the tradition forward?
In Calypso? There are a number of young people yet. My man's son, the GC's son, Gosnell Cupid, which is Shannon McKenzie, brother.
Yes, yeah.
He won the Monarch of the Youngster. Then there's Collis, the young lady Collis.
Yeah, Sheena.
Sheena. She has a lot of potential coming up. And there are one or two young people, one named Divine. She sang and she was in the Calypso semi-final last year and thing and year before. They have one or two, but now you raise that. I remember me and Brian Alexander was on a sojourn to go to the schools. We did it to a couple of schools. Go and try to get the kids and them involved in Calypso playing. We go to a couple of schools. After a while, we hear that the headmistress and them say they want no Calypso in the school. I'm telling you what we were Brian Alexander could attest. We were doing that voluntarily. So we could have at least let the children them have an opportunity to decide if they want to go that way.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But some of the principals of these schools treating the school like personal property. They are allowing the decisions to be made by the parents or the children and themselves that we want to sing Calypso. We want to learn how to write and sing a Calypso. So all of these barricades we're meeting, Jomo. We have a lot of problems.
How long are you singing Calypso?
Good question. I started singing since I was about 13. The first Calypso I sang.
Since you were 13?
Yeah. The first, before I started singing soul song and them thing, I was a little boy, and they had the first Calypso tent I can remember at a place named Oddfellas Lodge. You still too young to know about that?
Yeah, I know.
Oddfellas Lodge down in Middle Street. Yeah, that was the days of Shella, the little boy to Shella, Lord Hawk, Summers was about my age, Spider Solin. Spider was a local Indian guy, but you
know Spider.
You know Spider?
Murray Village, yeah.
Right, Spider Solin. Those leader, those were the fellas I grew up between. The first pay I get for Calypso, it sweet me. Them days, this youngster wouldn't know about that. They had 60 cents piece, 12 cents piece. I tell you. So I get 60 cents for my car. Boy, so what? So much money I get for singing a Calypso? And I sang this song called Holy Faulty Policeman. I wouldn't call his name, but I'm going to tell you off here who the policeman was. They accused him of stealing a fowl in the you know him very well. He's deceased now. He was a police. And they say he thief somebody fowl in the and cook it. So I made a Calypso and Holy Faulty Policeman. That was a hit. So I used to go all over Pasha and sing for these people with these tray. They used to make tart and heavy bread and you sing around her tree. And that would encourage people around the tree. There was a lady from China married. She would give me a tart and stuff. So that is some of the things that I used to do as a young fella. So I started singing Calypso there. And then I branched off, started singing these soul songs and stuff like we used to have these regular talent show, like once a month in Russell, sometime in Robbie. I sang with Percy Sledge. They bring Percy Sledge here. I sang with him on Park. I sang with Third World. I sang with Eric Donaldson. I sang between these guys, and I was a guest artist, and some of these shows. You know, back there, I remember Glenn Jackson bringing Percy Sledge, and I get $40 to sing. I get $40 to sing with Percy Sledge. So I've been through a bit of thing. I've been through a bit of thing, and I had some experience. Jackie Opel, I sang with, you know, Jackie Opel from Barbados. Yeah, I sang with Jackie Opel. Quite a few other people. I sang with Chalk Dust. I went to the Virgin Islands. My friend Felix Findley, who is Dalpin, because he was a little boy going to me school and he used to come by me because he want to learn how to sing. So I'm just telling you what it is. So he used to come by me and sit down, play guitar with him and stuff like that. And so he was living in the Virgin Islands and he carried me down there for a week. So I sing between Chalk Dust, with the other fella name, this Blue Boy. I sang between those guys and stuff already. So I had some experience singing between, you know, certain big names and stuff. Great. I've been through a bit.
Right. How do you keep your voice going? I mean, you have been doing this for a long while, and your voice don't seem to drop. You know, you seem to have that ability to sing and to almost sound like you did 15, 20 years ago.
Well, Jomo, me and you have conversations casually, and you know that my lifestyle, like I test what that ability that you say I seem to have to how I live. I don't put anything in my body for years. For years, I'm a vegetarian in the real true sense of the vegetarian. I'm a vegetarian. Of course, although occasionally I'll eat piece of fish, okay, which I never used to do years ago. But because of some tests I did, my protein level is kind of a little low. I could say that. But I'm a vegetarian in the sense of cheese and milk from cow and egg and all them things. You have to stick me up and hold me down. I don't want it. Right. I'm not saying that nobody else should need it. Just me. You understand? Yeah. Fruits and vegetables. Things like liquor. No sense you try to tell me about beer and Guinness and malt. I don't want them things there.
Right.
I just say, leave them for my grandkids. I have 11 grandkids. Leave them for my grandkids. I've had enough of that. Right. Let them go on these snacks, these little salty things that you mentioned just now. That we have, and that's why I like with the Minister of Health, you know. Even before he became Minister of Health, we used to have discussion because he's my friend, personal, I could say that. He don't believe in these things either. These little salty thing and sugary thing that they want to force on the children. All of these things are given vent to obesity, diabetes, hypertension, and so many other things that could be avoided. You know?
I have always been of the view that people don't make the connection between what they put into their mouth and what they become.
True.
I don't think, I mean, you hear people say, but I'm getting older, so I'm getting bigger.
So certain things have to happen.
Yeah,
I don't believe in that either.
I mean, I remember when I left St. Vincent in 1983, I was weighing 143 pounds. I came back to St. Vincent in 2004, and I was weighing 149 pounds. And I've been here now for 22 years back, and I am weighing 152 pounds. And people think, talking to a brethren just recently, he said, well, boy, actually it's Kenson King. He says, well, no matter, even if they force feed you wouldn't get big. But it's not true. It's what I decide to put into my mouth. What I decide to eat is the fact that I decide to keep on moving, to exercise, to run, to jog, to do yoga, to stretch.
I
and a lot of people, for example, they say that breakfast is the most important meal. And I tell them the most important meal for children, because children are still growing bone and teeth and mass. But when you are a big human being, you can, at a minimum, do intermittent fasting to make sure that you allow your body a chance. Like, you don't go into the night
To
every night. I mean, you
recuperate, to
can
rest.
indulge every
Yeah,
now and
yeah.
again, but you don't go in the night every night with your stomach packed in with food, because your body don't get a chance to rest. But I don't think that people, and I really wanted to take you there because I know of your lifestyle and so on. So I'm glad to hear you talk about that. But Kamal, I want you to play Patchy's song for
You all have it here already?
well, it came to me, so you said that we don't have to buy it no more. So we don't pirate it, and we can play it on this radio station now. People, I want you all to listen to this because it's an interesting song.
The country feel like the future look bright. Everybody happy since we got rid of the ULP. Them guys was distasteful, greedy and disrespectful. Watch a bunch, them alone, he say eat the lunch. They give me real pressure, I had to eat my bread without butter. Was plenty torment, that's why we have to change government. Okay? I said we don't want no more wickedness. We don't want no more damn stupidness. We want good representation. No more corruption. We want a good government. Or I will have to win. Mr. Friday, come real good. You better come good, or I'm picking up the food. Dr. Friday, come real good. I hope this is understood, or I'm pulling out the boot. Really? What? You promise me freedom. Guns have had we tied up. We looking for good stuff. Though the road ahead looking real rough. You have my full support. We give you some strong votes. No regrets, just treat you with real respect. No victimization, and no saddle with oppression. Dr. Friday, you know, that is why you will be had to go. Now, him, I say we don't want no more wickedness. We don't want no more damn stupidness. We want good representation. No more corruption. We want a good government. Or I will have to win. Mr. Friday, come real good. You better come good, or I'm picking up my boat. Dr. Friday, come real good. No more gold crooks in the hood, or I'm pulling out my boat. You hear me?
Right, that's Patches 2026. Dr. Friday, you better come real good.
Yeah, definitely.
Tell us,
Caution.
Tell us about that. Tell us about that.
Well, part of my experience of having to sing a song like that is because of a man called John Horn, deceased now. He befriended me. I never went to a politician office before in my life. I used to have these little cultural things down in Bottom Town where I live. I used to put on little shows for the kids, little teen shows, teach young fellas to play music. We had 2 soccer teams down there. Train the young fellas to walk on the bobber stick, because I saw it in one of those countries and he decided to bring it back. So John Horn heard what I was doing and he sent and called me. The same with Daniel Cummins. I have to talk this way. I didn't go and push myself. He came and he said, I want to have a talk with you. Come to my office. So he sent the message. I went and we started to work in the community. I used to go to Trinidad for Carnival. One year when I was going down, you get some information and send for me and send me down Cocoreet, where I used to stay when I used to live in Trinidad once. I had a family down there in Waterhole. You should know them place, down in Cocoreet. Anyway, he sent me to a guy named Dragon, who does make the bobber stick, the Moko Jumbi thing. So I spent a week down there and he showed me how to make it. Now I cannot walk on them myself, but I know the whole thing. So I went to St. Thomas one time and I saw these kids and stuff on these things. And one mother asked me, the child, to tie up the kid, and she showed me what to do. So I got influenced. I remember I used to see these things. So I came back and I started to more or less push to get that done. John Horn assisted 100%. John Horn even had some speakers. He said that he had gotten someplace, but he said, man, look, man, I have some speakers. Let me give you them for your band. And so I started to combine the band with the bobber. Anyway, if we go to Plain Beck, I'd walk with the children and the stick. We went to Union Island one time. I'm saying this, me and Snaggy was good friend. So I went down with Snaggy and Cecil Ryan and them to support Snaggy one time. I went down there with the bobber. We had 22 bobber dancers. We had about 6 or 7 calypsonians. We had the whole band, and we went down and played for Snaggy to raise funds, because Snaggy used to associate with us when we had the Black Power movement.
Right.
So based on that kind of thing, Jomo, that is how I got involved in the politics. I'm saying that to say this is why it reached this point. After John Horn retired and Daniel Cummins takeover, I was in America. When I came back, I got a message from one of the youngsters who was walking the stick and said, a man named Mr. Cummins was here. So I went, he was having a meeting over at Lee Hall. I go and he introduced himself to me. And he said, well, I'm trying to replace John Horn. And there was another contestant, the guy Denny. Me and Denny was going good. But after John Horn...
Which Denny is this, Olin?
No, the one who was the in the military, cadet one. Remember, it was he and Daniel Cummins came up to decide.
Oh, right, that's, what's his name again?
I forget his
He just
first.
got a PhD now.
Right.
Yeah.
But he did the wrong thing. I said, listen, Mr. Cummins talked to me and, supporting the guy Denny first, because I'd known him before Mr. Cummins came on the scene. But then he now started to get loaf and start to get on in a kind of way as if I don't have the right to talk to Daniel Cummins. And the way Daniel Cummins approached me, I took him as a genuine, which I still say today, a genuine good guy. And I must say here for the public, this is no, because before Daniel Cummins get into office, Daniel Cummins treated me like a friend. I tell you, Christmas gone and all the Christmas back, I am always invited to Daniel Cummins' house. I hear a man say, you can't go to Daniel Cummins' house. Crap. And his wife is a nice and decent woman.
Let me take a caller. Caller, good evening. It's time for your voice. Hello? Hello? Hello?
Not hearing.
We're not hearing anything. Caller, we're not hearing you. So if you're trying to reach us, you have to call back. Go ahead, Patrick. You're talking about...
Yeah, Jomo. So I'm saying that I show my support with Daniel Cummins, and he was doing so many things, some places I never knew existed, even in the constituency which I live. I produce them place with Cummins. We go all over the place. People have the opposing party symbols on the house and all that. And Mr. Cummins said, we're going everywhere. We're going everywhere. And we go to, he lost the first election. And from that time, he never,
right there. Let me
never lost again.
Hello? Good evening. It's time for your voice. Yes, we're hearing you much better now.
So, Patches, next time put in a shameless plug so people know you're over here, right?
Put in
a shameless plug.
Meaning?
From 6:30. At 6:30, you could tell us who's going to be over here.
No, I had a competent guy there. Ron B is a radio man. So
Yeah, no, I have no problem with that, but just tell us it was going to be over here, put in a shameless plug so more people could listen in, you know?
well, Jomo catch me off guard.
But
Okay.
I told him to tell his audience that he coming to be with me tonight.
You know, my wife called as you wanna something wrong with you? How I left her.
Why you get it all? You get it off already now?
Yeah, she's like that. She started worrying. I said, no, nothing wrong. I'm going with Jomo. Yeah, I understand what you're saying, bro. I understand. What you're saying.
Yeah, tell us your experience. You left out your experience with Bob Scott and the ambassadors in Holland.
This man is a historian. That is true. I went to Holland and I lived in Holland for a while, and I went to Bob Scott, Jimmy Scott, Jerry Scott, Rafi Scott.
All the Scots.
Lou
All the Scots.
All the Scots. Yeah, I used to live in Holland too, because I went to the band. True. Ambassadors. Well, you know a lot of things, man. So that is true.
Yeah, you did mention when you started Tuesday program, it briefly mentioned it with Brian Alexander. I see the Calypso tends to $20. The dance can't pay for the light. It was $20 20 years ago. 20 years later, it's $20. The dance can't pay for the light. That's why you have to have sponsors.
And people still making fuss to pay the $20. You think easy?
They won't fuss if a bay go to $20, they won't fuss by it though. But they're gonna fuss to pay $20 for.
Well, remember we are selling the idea that rum and alcoholic beverages are part of our culture. I mean, technically it is, but who want to go that way is up to them. I hear a man singing glorifying alcohol.
Last year, Fantastic Friday was removed with something Roman.
Exactly so, and they're trying to do that again.
No, I think this. I was speaking to the CEO, Mr. Small. He said they're not doing that this year.
Yeah, that's what they were trying to, but different people with different minds, eh? Different people with different. Yeah.
You try different things, you know. What don't work, you know, you move to something else. That's all it is, experiment. Anyway, I'll listen to the rest of the program. Have a good night. Bye.
Yeah, man.
Okay, brother.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Yeah, Patrick. So
I was saying,
you're telling us now how you end up writing this column.
I go to, my wife live in America. I have 4 grandchildren up there. I have 11, and all them born in England. I have 4 in England too, and the rest in America. My wife lives up in America, so I go there almost every year. And you must consider a person as a friend. The minister would call and ask me if everything is all right, how you're going, how your family. He don't have to do that, but he's showing that he's a friend of mine. So I consider him my personal friend. Right. You understand? So I supported him. I expect great things of him. I know I have a son who had a mental thing. I know several times Mr. Cummins is who would take. So he knows out there, and now he's the Minister of Health. And as he went out there, he used to carry me out there. Mm-hmm. So when I go to visit my son, that's the kind of man Daniel Cummins is. Mm-hmm. When I have a little problem with my son and thing, I could call on him to assist, because they have this system now. If, for instance, my son is acting up, and I figure he needed medication, I can't control him. He's a big shot. I can't tell him what to do. But he's intelligent, but you have the problem. And if you call the mental institution, they will tell you, go to the police. That's how. When you go to the police, remember the police tell me several times, they deal with crazy people, because crazy people do. So Mr. Cummins, I'm sure, would be on his way to fixing that. You have to have a proper program. My son used to live in America. He had a green card. His mother had him living up there. And he went behind her back and got his passage paid to come back to St. Vincent. That's how he did it. But up there, when he ill, he know he could have gone check in. He got a room with toilet and bed and stuff, unlike out there, people sleeping on the floor, on cardboard, a newspaper. And I'm sure Mr. Cummins will attend to stuff like that, because he's a thorough kind of man. I know that for a fact. I could talk that about him. So I'm saying that to say, I am singing this song now. Mr. Cummins know me. To say plainly that I'm cautioning the party that over 20 years, well, more than 20 years, because since in John Horn time, I was supporting them. And I had some bad experience with the opposition party now. I used to play blues music and rock and roll and stuff like that, and R&B. And the late Sil McIntosh was asked once when they used to have Bookament and the Bay, and they bringing in these artists from North America. They wanted a band that could have more or less played that kind of stuff. So Sil was asked to put a band together. Denzel Backus, who is to me the best blues player in St. Vincent the Grenadines. Denzel Backus.
I know Denzel.
And I used to play with Denzel. And when Sil mentioned who could play that kind of music, he was so, no, I don't want them. Them don't support me. I have them experience. Them don't support me. I don't want them. You could imagine that kind of thing. You're doing a cultural thing. You're not going to pay out your pocket. You're trying to more or less sell a part of what we do here in St. Vincent, in the cultural art form. And you saying, so I have all those things in my head. You understand me? These are some of the things I've been through. I got arrested. You have it in the song. On more than one occasion, police come knocking on my door. 8 of them. They say they were going to charge me. Now we're going to charge me for leading an illegal protest. So you remember when they had the thing when the teachers union and the PSU and all of them got together after this thing with the vaccination. They said me is one the leader. So they come to take my laptop. I had a laptop that time and my phone. I had 2 phones. They take them and they carry me, lock me up after, give me a charge for that. So these are things that I had. If the NDP, as it is now, was to go about doing them kind of, to me, illegal and illicit things, it would make me more or less prove that I am right, that politicians had to be kept in line. So this song here is a cautionary message. Guys, we expect great things of you.
No discrimination. No,
Yeah, don't mess up. No discrimination.
Right.
You know, and don't saddle we with oppression. You understand me? And I did name the song Bullwood. Because if Dr. Friday, if you mess up, I'm going to take out my Bullwood. I have great respect for you. And I have great expectation of you and your cabinet and your ministers. So I'm just singing that to see. But you notice I'm pointing out all the atrocities in the song that was carried out
from the previous
by the previous administration. So that's what I did.
I think it's excellent. The whole up-tempo, it's an up-tempo song. It's not the regular,
The draggy thing.
Yeah. What inspired that?
Well, over the years, when I sang a song called Ring the Bell. That was in 2014. I deliberately did it because I wanted people to gyrate to the song, move that you don't have to sing a what you call it Rossoka thing, cock up and wine. You could sing a calypso with good lyrical content.
Dorothy.
Yeah,
Like Dorothy.
exactly. Wait, Dorothy, wait.
Dorothy,
You know what I'm saying?
Dorothy,
We have to deal with this.
Yeah.
Then I sang Master Day is Done.
Right.
You understand me? I sang one called Hallelujah. That was the fastest. I had a soca beat over 130-something RPM. And that song was inspired when I went to Fatty Dan funeral. I went to Fatty Dan funeral by one of these churches. They have Pentecostal. And I know what a lot of people will say about Calypso. When I saw the performance now of the choir, they gyrating and the carrying on. The only thing they was whining, you know? So I said, wait. These people actually moving to soca, what we call soca rhythm, because the tempo that they're moving to, they're carrying on. But like I said, they ain't cocking up their leg, but they're carrying on. So I said, what? So I made up the song called Hallelujah, where the preachers and them are bad mouthing calypso, bad mouthing the music, but using the same music. Like if we in the Soca Monarch arena around back, minus the lyric. And then I said in some of it, I said, Vibrating Skakes have song you could sing in church. Hyper have song you could sing in church. Beckett have song you could sing in church. Sosa have song. So I made the point that Calypso's selective calypsos could be sung in church because they're not all the same. There's calypsos that have vulgarity in it too, and things that is not really ethical and decent. So that's the point I'm trying to make. You can dance to the song.
I'm glad for it. I'm sure people would like it when they get more accustomed to it. We're coming up towards the end. Well, not really towards the end. We still have a lot of time. But I wanted to take you. I did tell you about. When we look at the African continent today, because I know you are an African man. You're a very Afrocentric man. You love Africa. You love African people. Are you inspired by anything that you're seeing? Are you inspired by any of the leaders there now?
Every day I go on my phone. I go on. I Google and go on the internet. I'm looking for what's happening in Burkina Faso. I'm looking for what's happening in Mali, in Niger, in South Africa. I'm following Malema, Julius.
Malema.
I'm following Abraham Traore. I'm proud of them guys. Chiani and Goita. I'm following those guys. Ghana, Kenya, Nigeria, they need to come in line. I am all for the African nations. They say they have 54 different nations, different countries, if they want to call it that. But Africa for me is Africa. Just like Malema been saying, he ain't want no borders. You can't help but love a man like Malema. The same with Abraham Traore. We don't want no borders. We want to be able to go from Chad to Mali to Ethiopia to Senegal to South Africa.
Yeah, I was looking at Dan Gotti, the billionaire entrepreneur investor from Nigeria. And he was making the point that he has to get 38 visas to travel in Africa.
Crazy, man.
Madness.
Crazy.
38 visas to travel in Africa.
But you could educate me on this. How does the European Union operate? In terms of traveling borders.
No. You don't. There's no.
They don't have no restriction like we have. That's the point I want to make.
Restriction.
You don't have that.
No.
But Jomo, like I was saying, Thomas Sankara was murdered by a right-hand man.
Yeah.
And Kwame Nkrumah.
Kampori.
Yeah, Kwame Nkrumah was sabotaged by his right-hand man too. And Patrice Lumumba. All these things.
And what's his name there? Amilcar Cabral.
Malcolm. Regardless of who paid is black men kill Malcolm? Up to now.
Black men might have pulled the trigger.
Exactly. You know what I mean? But we know the CIA was involved. You know what I'm saying? we know that it was set up to get rid of Malcolm, and we know that the NYPD and all that was involved in the murder of Malcolm X. And when you look at what's happening in some of these countries in Africa, there are people who are supporting the white supremacists because we know we have this color, especially in South Africa. The people who are mixed think that they're better than the dark-skinned people like us. Yeah. The white man fueling them kind of thing. Yeah. And it still has some of that right here in the Caribbean. You know that. Yeah. People think they're better than you. But some of these people, I don't like to say it that way, but some
there's colorism in the Caribbean as well. But you know the thing, Patches, about Malema in South Africa, United Freedom Fighters, Economic Freedom Fighters, and with Traore and the other brothers in Mali and Niger. In many respects, they are carrying out and developing the views that Kwame Nkrumah talk about. You can remember Kwame Nkrumah talk about a United States of Africa.
I hear you.
And these brothers are talking about the same thing. This is why they have the Confederation of the Sahel States, the Association of Sahel States.
Yeah. Oh, I got you.
Which are really, really positive developments. And this is why there's so many. They've tried. I have lost count now, but the last count I remember, there were 22 assassination attempts
On Traore.
on Traore. So there has been more assassination attempts on this young man than he's an adult. I mean, he's 38 years old now,
I hear you.
and you have 22 assassination attempts. And this is because the French know what they get from these countries. France don't have no gold. I mean, in the earth.
I hear you.
But they have one of the largest stockpile of gold in the world. And they get that, they got a lot of it from
Exploitation.
Burkina Faso. They get a lot of it from Mali. And this is why they are sponsoring all of these reactionary
African leaders,
counter-revolutionary
ECOWAS is a dangerous organization.
jihadist organization.
Yeah.
But remember, those three countries, Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso, stepped out of ECOWAS,
Yeah.
which is the West African Economic.
And they wanted to invade them. They wanted to gang
yes,
up.
they wanted to invade.
Boy, you know, every morning I get up, I have to check to see if they attack these countries. I'm always fearful for Traore, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
I'm always fear. Because I know these guys will stop at nothing.
They will
They
stop
know
at
what they're losing. They want to maintain dominancy. These guys believe that they must continuously, forever, be in control of us as black people. Like I said, Jomo, and the young brother here. Any place we go, who want to delude themselves, they could do that. Any place people like us go, we will be judged based on our skin color. We got to get that in our skulls. So when we are being apologetic for talking about our Africanness and people want us to shut up and go in a corner and be quiet and don't talk it and don't raise it and call us what? Racist. Reverse racist.
Yeah,
Well, man, the crap, I don't bother with them with the nonsense. Everybody supposed to look out for their own. That don't mean that you must attack other people, but we must have pride and dignity and true belief in ourselves and our worth. And those of us who know our worth, regardless of what we have materially, or educationally, or academically, or intellectually, we must have a respect for ourselves. That's what I believe.
I think that, you know, one of the things why our people have such disdain for ourselves is because we don't know our history.
True.
We don't know. A lot of us believe the most prominent thing in black people in the outside of continental Africa, the most prominent thing is slavery.
I hear you.
And with slavery and colonialism come the thought that if you believe that your history began with slavery, then you are lost.
I got you.
If you know that your people, as you were saying earlier, are the creators of civilization, if people know that African people, led by the brilliant African general Hannibal, crossed over from Africa across the Mediterranean and controlled Spain and Portugal
Italy?
and part of Italy for 700 years, and not in a aggressive, destructive conquest, but we brought, and the architecture is still there to this day. If you travel, we brought architecture, we brought public bathhouses, we brought the concept of cleanliness, because Europeans didn't know about germs.
True.
Until we went. And something when we say this, people don't believe it. People think it's just, you know.
Because I just say they don't read. And when you know about Imhotep and Senmut and Nehisi and Nefertiti,
the great, they say he was the first
Father Medicine, Imhotep.
multi-genius.
Yeah.
They call him a polyglot.
When you know about these
people. He was a
people,
mathematician, he was an engineer, he was a medical doctor, he was
correct.
an architect, and
Correct.
he was the prime builders that helped to build the pyramids in Egypt.
When you know about Mali and Songhai and
People don't know.
Abyssinia, what they used to call Ethiopia. When you know these things, nobody can hold you.
Kushites.
Yeah, they can't.
This is why
they
I
can't hold
say,
you down.
if African people know, I say it before, I'll say it again and again and again. If African people know their history, if we know our history, we would fly.
Things will be different, yeah.
We would fly.
Things will be different.
But look at what has happened. Who is it? Is Charles who say we all came on is Charles or Stalin who say we came on the same ship? It's Stalin.
Stalin.
Right. It came on
Stalin.
the same ship. We just made different stops. But
Stalin.
look where we are now. Oh, I'm a St. Lucian. I am Jamaican. I'm Vincentian. I'm Dominican. I'm Barbadian. Everything else.
Same thing exists.
Except who we really are.
Yeah, same thing exists in Africa now. The man did a great job on us. Yes,
job.
great job on us, man. I want to mention quickly, Jomo, that well, you know, you've been participating in Emancipation Day. There's going to be a big Emancipation Day happening come the 1st of August. This time it's in Victoria Park.
Well, I really hope we can do that.
Yeah, it's going to be in Victoria Park, and it's going to be like a national thing that we see. You know what's happening in Jamaica and Trinidad and Barbados and Guyana, how people put a whole lot of effort into emphasizing the importance. Well, that is going to start to happen. It never happened before. Like me and you were talking, you see the Greens and stuff, Simeon and Retro still carry on, like Oscar used to do, and early on out the Diamond. And like I told you before when we was coming, now we're going to miss Idisha because she always did something, you know, African, you know, Liberation Day and also Emancipation Day. And like I said before we end, there are few people in this country who understand the seriousness of what is happening to our people across the planet. If you just come, you live, you eat, you drink, you die, you make some money, what have you accomplished? This is why people like me believe you have to give back something, some little thing at least. People are want to know, what are you getting out of it? You get, like I say, pride and dignity is not for sale, Jomo.
How do you come in, Patches, on the issue of reparations?
That's a foregone conclusion. The foregone, and we're still being exploited today. Jomo, Europe, America was built on the backs of our ancestors. And like you know, because you're a historian too, you know plenty of our people were transported both ways between the Americas and what we call the Caribbean. So we have connection, ancestral connection with people in North America, if you dig what I'm saying. And the wealth that Europe is enjoying today, the so-called progress, the higher standard of living, the Americans are enjoying, came from the blood, sweat, toil, and tears of our people who work for hundreds of years for free. Imagine, Jomo, people are working from Kansi to Kansi, and all you're getting is enough food to sustain you for the next day, the next week, the next year. That's all. While they accumulate all this wealth to have these massive structures
all
and
these
this
billionaires in the U.S.
generational wealth.
All these billionaires in the U.S. were slaveholders.
I hear you. Banks and all, like the British.
Yes.
Another time we will talk about all these things, you know, Jomo. People don't want to
We
talk.
still have 4 minutes. Don't worry.
You
But
know?
you know, Patches, in 1833, when the talk in the British Parliament, based on the body blows that African people were landing for their freedoms, beginning from 1791 to 1804 with the Haitian Revolution, then uprisings and protests across the Caribbean culminated with the uprising in 1831 in Jamaica, which led the British colonialists to decide, well, look, African people are moving to free themselves, so let's try and get out of this. So in 1833, they passed the Emancipation Proclamation, came into effect in 1834, by 1833, and they got a loan, $20 million in 1833. It is said that in today's dollars, that is about $200 billion.
And that was a petty slave master.
That was to pay the slave masters.
Boy, this
that was
word.
that was to pay the enslavers.
Yeah.
The enslaved Africans got nothing. But I'll tell you something that which a lot of people don't know. the magnitude of that debt was so great that, see if you could hazard a guess as to when the British government
I hear you. I had some
finished paying for that loan which was taken in 1833.
not too very long ago, Jomo.
2015.
Yeah, not too very long ago. I just followed the
2015.
little
It took
things.
them all of that years to pay off that loan.
And look what they did with Haiti too. Remember Haiti had to pay back the
150, 150.
and our intellectuals
Million.
and educated people are trying to, black people like you and me, they don't see those things as an issue, you know.
But a lot of it, they don't know about it.
Well, that's true too.
A lot of it, and this is why it's so important
That
for
is-
us to
that is
teach,
true too.
for us to teach history in our schools.
In schools. I
Because
agree with you,
our
Jomo.
young people have to know these things. They don't know.
They don't know. That is
They
correct.
don't know.
And even some of these people who pass through these so-called big institutional learning, they're not aware, like you
They're
said,
not aware.
because they didn't went to learn about those things.
Right.
They went to study either medicine or economics
or whatever.
or science. So they didn't want to study what the enslavers did to us. They didn't want to study it. And you know, you remember the last emancipation we spoke, we were talking about the fact that history in these countries don't seem to be no important subject.
No. It should be as important as English and
Yeah.
math. But again, you have leaders who don't think that way. So it's like an appendage somewhere over here that if you want to opt out of it, you can opt out of it, but you can't opt out of your own history. No student should have the chance to opt out of their own history.
But you know, when we were going to school, history was the must.
Yeah, but that was Drake and Hawkins.
Yeah, that was, yeah.
No.
Yeah. The nail run away, the
And
nail run
Henry-
away the
Henry
screw
Morgan and so on.
and pushed the cow on the roof to eat grass. Mr. Mike went to school on a bike.
Yeah. And that is the Miami Band.
Yeah, man. Sparrow sang. I tell you, these guys are
But just at the
genius.
top of the hour, yeah, I want to thank you so much for coming in. I know that you're a good voice. You've always been a good voice. Continue being that good voice for our people. And let us, step by step, keep on pushing the message of African liberation and Black consciousness.
True.
Because that's the key to our salvation. If we don't ever get that right, consciousness of self, consciousness of who we are, we ain't going any place far. So we have to get that right, and we have to go to the young people and constantly raise it with young people. So for those of you who stayed with us for all of this time, I want to thank you so much for staying. Brother, thank you so much for calling. I know that there are so many other things that you could have done, but guess what? You stayed with us for the last 2 hours. Remember, read, pay close attention, because what you don't know can kill you. Until next week, this is Jomo Thomas saying good night from Voices.
WeFM 99.9 presents Voices, a talk show that's not just new,